The Nintendo Switch 2 system can adapt to suit your situation.
Pre-orders were supposed to start tomorrow, but instead the company hit the pause button.
Nintendo, what the actual What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nick. The pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 were supposed to come out in the US today. Unfortunately, they won't be coming out anymore. You wanna know why? Your boy, the Big Don. Not talking about Don Julio. I'm talking about Donald J. Trump.
It's fun to stay at the
That man and these terrorists, bro. But that's not even the big cause of things right now. If you guys don't live in the US or you live under a rock, the US is in a big terror war with every single country in the world right now. And it's making everything more expensive for the day-to-day Americans. I know you guys saw this Nintendo Switch 2 price already. Insane. But the price could even go up larger than that. But we're going to be talking about that later on in today's video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about the 9th generation of consoles and how they all had the worst release possible for their generation. I mean, if we're being honest, this has to be the worst console generation of all time. Hey, somebody had to say it. But before we start today's video off, let me know in the comment section below. Be pre-ordering or buying the Nintendo Switch 2. Let me know in the comment section below. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into the video. Now, the first console that we will be talking about today is the Xbox. Now, the Xbox released two consoles. They released the digital edition of their next generation of console, which is called the Xbox Series S. And they also released the game disc version of their new console called the Xbox Series X. Now, when this console launched back in 2020, it was hard to get an Xbox Series. I'm gonna just be honest with you. It was very hard. But the easiest one to get was the Xbox Series S because Microsoft made a bajillion of them, but they did not make a bajillion of the Xbox Series X. I'm gonna just be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. My introduction to this console generation was the Xbox Series S because I wanted to play the next gen consoles. I didn't care about getting a cheaper version of the next gen consoles. I wanted to play it. So I bought the Xbox Series X. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the one thing I did like about the Xbox Series S was Game Pass. I really loved Game Pass going into this next console generation. That was perfect. Shout out Game Pass, man. But besides the Xbox Series X, we had to get to the main console that everybody cared about, which was the Xbox Series X. Now, the Xbox Series X, you couldn't get your hands on this until a year later because it was just so hard and so rare to get. Scalpers were going to charge you $1,000 to $2,000 to get this console, and it was very hard to get. But I'm going to be honest with you, people still don't have the Xbox Series X. You want to know why? Because the sales of the Xbox Series S are at 28.3 million as of 2025. And you want to know why nobody has the Xbox Series X? Because nobody cares about Xbox anymore. Xbox hasn't been good since the Xbox 360. I'm going to just keep it a buck. Nobody cares about the Xbox. That's why nobody bought it. But it still was a very low console selling year for the Xbox Series X. 28 million? And we are in 2025? That's a very low ball for Microsoft. But hey, shout out Game Pass. Next on our list, we got to talk about the top dog of this console generation, the PlayStation. Now, the PS5 back in 2020, it had the most worst release possible. One, because PlayStation couldn't meet the supply and demand of their console back in 2020. One, it was in 2020 COVID. We all realized the shenanigans that happened in 2020. But the PS5 was so rare that people didn't get their hands on the PlayStation 5 console until 2023 at the latest. At the earliest to get the PS5, it was 2022. That was the earliest you could get the console if you were a regular person. You could not get that thing in 2020 unless you wanted to pay that $1,000 and $2,000 range from scalpers. It was so crazy. I was seeing PS5s on GOAT. Yes, the GOAT app I buy clothes on. I was seeing the PS5 on there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I got my PS5, I had to pay extra money for it. And guess what? I got the digital edition PS5. The cheaper PS5, they say. And I paid almost $800 from GameStop with it. No, it was a bundle, but it's supposed to be the cheapest PS5 you can get. The digital edition PS5. And I still paid more than what it was. Because PlayStation supply and demand. And I got it, the earliest was 2022. That is actually insane. The crazy thing with PlayStation is that most of their fan base still has the PS4 because they see no need to upgrade to a PS5. And I don't blame them. The PlayStation 5 barely has good exclusive games to play. Yeah, they got Astro Bot, Spider-Man 2, God of War, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Ratchet and Clank. But that's not gonna hold me over, man. PlayStation 4 had way more exclusive. Even the PS3 had way more exclusive and fun games to play. The PS5 barely has any games to play. The only games you're gonna be playing on the PS5 will be 2K, Madden, Call of Duty, and Fortnite. That's the big 4 games that you will play on the PlayStation 5. I'm just being honest with you. Until GTA 6 come out. Once GTA 6 come out, we'll have a good game to play on the PS5. I'm not gonna lie to you. But until then, we're gonna be playing basically sports games and shooters. That's all you have to play on the PS5. And also, PlayStation thought it would be a good idea to release a PS5 Pro. Now, nobody has the PS5 Pro. You may be wondering why. Is it because of supply and demand? You know, what's going on? Why does nobody have a PS5 Pro? Ladies and gentlemen, the reason nobody has a PS5 Pro is because Sony thought it was a good idea to charge $700 for a PS5 Pro. $700 for a PS5 Pro? And the PS5 Pro doesn't do anything really significant that the PS5 doesn't already do. The PS5 is already a masterful powerhouse console. Even though it has no games to play for the powerhouse console, it is still a good, powerful console. The PS5 Pro has just a little bit more specs than the PS5, and they're charging $700. Ain't nobody buying that. And it's a reason why you don't see nobody with a PS5 Pro. One, the design's ugly, the specs aren't even that good, and it's still no games to play on it. And they charging $700. We're going to get to their other rival, because their other rival, they're just as greedy, if not even more greedy. Now we got to talk about the new console that will be releasing on July 5th, the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a big Nintendo fanboy. I got mostly all of Nintendo's first party games. My first ever console was a GameCube. I love Nintendo. I thought Nintendo could never do no wrong. I stuck by these dudes through the Wii U era, the Switch era. I gave them the most promo with my family for the Nintendo Switch. Half of my family got the Nintendo Switch because of me. But do you think my family finna buy the Nintendo Switch 2 with this price? $450 for a Nintendo Switch 2 before tariffs. $500 plus Mario Kart World. $500 for a Nintendo Switch 2 that doesn't have better specs than the PS5 and the Xbox Series X? Are you fucking insane, Nintendo? I mean, I'm not going to even complain that much about the console price. You know, it is what it is. Most consoles these days are costing $500, so I know Nintendo's going to say, hey, screw it, I'll make my console $450. But $450 or $500 for a Nintendo console? Nintendo, you're supposed to be the cheaper end console. You're supposed to be the less powerful console, but good games. But I'm not going to complain. I wasn't complaining that much about that. But you know what I was complaining about, Nintendo? $80 video games. Have you lost your... It got to a point that PlayStation had to send a survey to their fans to say, hey, what are your thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2? You know, we don't charge you $80 for our games, you know. We could. Are you gonna pay that for Nintendo Switch 2? I mean, Nintendo, you gotta have some balls. You are saying that Mario Kart World should be $80? I'm paying $80 to play Mario Kart? I can see paying $80 for GTA 6, but Mario Kart? Mario Kart? But that isn't even the worst thing about why the Nintendo Switch release is even more bad. Nintendo Switch 2 is dropping when the world is in a tariff war right now. So if you guys don't know already, so pre-orders for the United States have been on hold for the Nintendo Switch 2 because of the tariffs. Now, with this is going on, we don't know if the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be up in price or they're going to keep the same price. Nintendo said they're going to reevaluate what they're going to do with the Nintendo Switch 2 pricing right now. So that $450 console can now turn into a $600 console. And the games could probably even get up to $100 maybe. And that is actually crazy. Now, we have seen the pandemic, tariffs, ruin the night console generation. But the night console generation was going to fail either way. There are barely any exclusive games to play for the Xbox and PlayStation 5. And with Nintendo right now, they have gone insane with these $80 games for their first-party games. And I'm buying Nintendo Switch 2 for only first-party games. I'm not buying Nintendo Switch 2 to play third-party games at all. I don't care about that at all. But when you want to tax me $80 to play a video game that's a hobby, you're basically going to ruin gaming. I could see GTA 6 being $80. No, I don't want it to be $80. I want it to be a $70 game. But Nintendo has made it where GTA 6 can say, hey, if they're paying $80 for Mario Kart, let me charge $100 for GTA 6. Or maybe even $150 with tariffs. Nintendo, you are ruining gaming with this. And I don't support $80 video games. That is honestly pathetic. And I don't know what's going to happen with these tariffs, ladies and gentlemen, but video games are just a hobby. They are mostly a hobby for us to play. And now that they're making it more expensive to play a hobby, this is going to be almost the death of gaming. Hopefully with the 10th generation of consoles that will come out in a couple years from now, they actually fix everything. Give us exclusive games for the PlayStation and Xbox Series. Nintendo, drop your price of your games And let us go back to having gaming be fun, man. Because right now, this is absolutely horrible what they're doing to gaming. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm ending off today's video. Tell me your thoughts and comments on the 9th generation of consoles. What are your thoughts on Nintendo Switch 2 games being $80 before the tariffs? Let me know all of it in the comment section below. But I'm ending off today's video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Peace.